The opinions expressed on the following audio program are solely those of the host and the guests. Burner Podcast is an independently produced, not-for-profit show and is not associated with the Burning Man organization or its subsidiaries. The views expressed are not representative of the entire Burning Man community and are presented here for entertainment purposes only. In short, calm the fuck down. It's just a podcast.
All right, hey there. It's episode... Let's try that again. All right, hey there. It's episode number 146. It is 200. All right, hey there. It's episode number 146. It is 240 days till the man burns as of this particular recording. This recording meaning the intro, not the interview that you're about to hear. The interview that you'll be hearing on today's episode was recorded, I guess about a month ago now when I was in San Francisco. I'm recording this intro that you're listening to at the Jacobs Center for Neighborhood Innovation in Barrio Logan in San Diego. But the interview that you're about to hear, it's my conversation with Kamal X, incredibly talented photographer whom I had the pleasure of sitting down with while I was in San Francisco. I've been following Kamal's work for a minute. I don't know how I became aware of him, but I started to follow him, and he's got really... his aesthetic definitely overlaps with a lot of the stuff that I'm interested in, and at some point, I think some Burning Man photos of his came into my feed back when I was actually active on Instagram ever so slightly. And just saw like these interesting new angles and variations on Burning Man, and then popped over to his feed and saw that he has a lot of black and white stuff, which really makes my heart sing. It's a lot of the stuff that I shoot. It's a lot of what I would be shooting more often if I didn't have to turn in color images to my clients. If it was up to me, I'd just turn in black and white stuff. But I just kind of went down the rabbit hole with his feed and was following him. Then I kind of eased off of social media altogether, and then jumped forward a year or so, and I get an email from Kamal, which was like really exciting. And we kind of start chatting, and he was in New York at that time, and I don't remember where I was. I may have been in Texas. And we start communicating, and we're like, all right, let's try to get an interview together. I would love to geek out with you, photographer to photographer, about Burning Man and about our experiences. And one thing led to another, and the schedules aligned, and we both ended up in San Francisco on the same day. Just like barely an overlap. Kamal had an incredible piece on display at a gallery showing, which we will discuss in the conversation. And I believe I say this in the interview, but I remember like it was this huge show. There's like tons of pieces. And I remember walking around and like trying to figure out which piece was his, trying to figure out if I could like tell by the style, if I could zero in my ability to tell what his aesthetic was. And then I find the piece, and I remember I told him that I was like relieved to discover that it was my favorite piece of the entire gallery show. And then after I found the piece, then I found him. Then I located him, and he was signing some books, and we connected. And the first response that I have is, fuck, this guy's taller than me. He's like, I think he actually is taller than me. Also handsome, very handsome. We ended up chatting and connecting, and it was really great. And the following night, we recorded the interview that you're about to hear in his hotel room in San Francisco, and it was really great. We even hung out the rest of the night, and it's a great conversation. We kind of start out by talking about YouTube University. We get into Kamal's embarking on his personal development journey. We discuss his childhood and definitely like some of the challenging experiences that he had in his upbringing in becoming the man that he is today. We explore Kamal's journey to journeying the world and leaving home base and traveling, which eventually leads to Burning Man. And what I loved about some of the conversation on this topic is that I have shared with a lot of folks that I feel like Burning Man, like Black Rock City specifically, is like an airport of consciousness. There are people flying in. There are people about to take off. There are employees that work at the airport that don't really travel much, and they kind of like hang out there in Black Rock City mostly. But it's a place where a lot of transition is happening. And this podcast, this project, I'm infinitely fascinated by people's journeys. And this show really is about exploring those things and about what is at the forefront of human consciousness and development. And to be honest, Black Rock City, which is the most amazing fucking place on the planet, it's the most amazing place in the world. It is, for lack of a better description, kind of an excuse. Burning Man is kind of an excuse for us to talk about this stuff. And so today's episode really is like one of my favorite examples of that. Because certainly we do have episodes that end up being just about Burning Man, like overwhelmingly mostly. It's these that really excite me, that we get to talk about this stuff, to see where people, what happened when they landed at Black Rock City, and then where they end up taking off to on their journey after they've spent some time in the airport of consciousness, which is this amazing place in the desert that we create together. So we get into discussing the creation of his book, Black Astronaut. Really, a lot of the conversation gets into the importance of loving your subject, even when that subject is rage. Especially when that subject is rage, the power and importance of it. And it is my absolute pleasure and honor to introduce you to Kamal X if you are not already familiar with his work. Really had just a lovely time recording with him, and we hung out the rest of the night, went out for some drinks. It was a good time. Let's get into it. Today's episode is entitled Black Astronaut. I go by Mr. Arash, even though nobody calls me Mr. Welcome to Burner Podcast.
On the first part of the journey, I was looking at all the life. There were plants and birds and rocks and things. There was sand and hills and rain. The first thing I met was the fly with the balls and the sky with no clouds. The heat was hot and the ground was dry, but the air was full of sound. I've been through the desert on a horse with no name. It felt good to be out of the rain. In the desert, you can't remember your name, 'cause there ain't no one for to give you no name.
Radio Shack was lit, man. I remember being a kid going in there and just like, it was so small, but it was interesting.
Yeah.
Kind of how Walmart is now. I go to Walmart and it's like, I just enjoy walking around and seeing stuff.
I tell you, I was poking around your website and I listened to some of your podcast recordings.
Oh,
Yeah, and I'm like, well, there's obviously experience with the microphone here because it sounded very crisp and professional.
yeah. Thank you. I appreciate that.
Where does that come from?
The emphasis on the production.
The comfort behind the microphone.
Speaking.
Not just speaking, but like with technology, like that's not.
Yeah. How did that?
That's learned. That's not an accident.
Yeah, that's a lot of like the way I am is like I kind of like think of something.
Yeah.
And then I have a vision in my mind, and then like I have to like get it to that point. So I do whatever I need to do to get to that point. So if I've heard a show that sounds really good, I'm like, okay, I want to make that happen.
Right,
so then I'll go into YouTube. I'll go into B&H or wherever to ask a bunch of questions about what do I need to do, which is what I did. I asked a lot of questions. I went in there what's the best mic? And then like I got mics that were like, okay. And then I realized you can't necessarily, I didn't want to cut certain corners, but I did want to get the cheapest, best thing though.
Yeah.
Like I didn't want to spend a lot of money, but I wanted like the good deal that can give me the premium sound.
Right.
So I think it was a lot of research and asking a lot of questions.
You just practiced holding the mic properly and getting that, because it sounded real good.
Yeah, thank you, man.
Because let me say, when I started this show, prior to this, as I was saying before we started recording, I was co-hosting a hip hop podcast, and on that one, we had a producer, sound engineer with us. Somebody else was dealing with all the tech.
Yeah,
I was just showing up.
Yeah, that's the dream.
So then when I right. So then when I started this, it was just me, and I kept trying to I was like, man, how am I going to do this? I came from that school. I came from that environment where there was all this professionalism, and then I listened to Neil deGrasse Tyson's podcast.
Oh man,
and it sounded like shit.
Really?
Yeah. This was whatever. This was 10 years ago.
Okay,
whatever.
So this is like the. Yeah, I got you.
Yeah.
I got you. Yeah.
It was maybe it was just that episode I happened to check out.
Maybe not.
But it sounded terrible.
I believe you.
And I was like, you know what? It doesn't matter. Let's just get it started. Let's get the conversation going. You can always increase the quality. You can always get new mics.
Yeah.
Which is now the advice I give everybody. You can always elevate.
Yeah.
You can always upgrade. You can't go backwards though.
That's so real. You can always elevate, and it's like you got to start somewhere. Because sometimes we just get too caught up in our head, and it's like it's a process. You know what I mean? So the even some of the shows I watch a lot of YouTube. That's where I learn everything for the most, a lot of stuff anyway. And I noticed certain shows are big budget. This might be an ESPN newscaster, and his lighting is horrible. I'm like, does he not know? They don't even know. But that's the way it normally is when the talent, let's say the talent, does their own thing. It's there's so many steps that you kind of got to get into. But luckily, I just always kind of been into technology.
It's a symphony, right?
Yeah. It definitely is. For
Let me
sure.
tell you immediately, this is the most interesting part about this interview that's popping out to me. I've been doing Burner podcast for coming up on a decade now. And
wow.
Before that, Crappy Awesome was 5-ish years, I want to say. And on the hip hop show, we virtually every week someone would say exactly what you just said, which is they learned everything through YouTube.
Yeah.
And on coming up on a decade of doing Burner podcast, I don't think I've ever heard anybody say that.
Oh, really?
It's not to say it hasn't happened. It's just it has not been voiced, which is interesting. It's
Definitely
immediately
interesting.
catching my interest right now.
Because I've learned even photography, man.
Yeah.
That was all YouTube. I just everything I just had to learn on. It's literally the university of whatever you want it to be. That's what I look at YouTube. But you got to make sure you go to the good sources though. You got to iron out who's BSing and who's telling the truth and what works. But I just find YouTube is one of the greatest inventions to me in my life. Period. I've learned so much on that thing.
You can, with YouTube, it's same. I started paying for the premium YouTube a long time ago because I listen. I listen a lot more than I watch it. But I can turn off the phone.
I got you.
Yeah. I just made my own radio channel on YouTube basically, and I just listen.
Wow, that's cool.
There's everything is there. Harvard classes are all there. You could just go to Harvard.
Right, whatever you want. That makes me think of the burn a little bit. How the burn is kind of whatever you want it to be. Whoever you are is what you're going to experience out there.
Right.
It doesn't give you anything. It's who are you? And then you find your way out there. It's kind of it makes me think of that as we're talking about the power of that platform and how who you are and what you want, what you're trying to learn. Especially when you take control of it, you're not necessarily letting the algorithm kind of just feed you videos, which I get into too, especially funny content. But
you
but
can
when
really
you
easily go down the crazy rabbit hole.
Man,
on YouTube.
you go deep in the.
If
in
you
the
don't
mix.
watch it, I will look up one thing just out of curiosity because I want to know what these people are arguing about.
Yeah.
And then YouTube starts going, "Oh, you like crazy shit?
It's next
Here's
day.
17 more crazy things."
Right. Then it's coming up on my phone. I'm like, oh man, they're hearing me, man. Yeah, man. It was one video.
Yeah.
But it's funny how that works, man. It's funny.
One of the things I personally implement, in my personal life philosophy, is I try to stick to no scrolling. It was this bit of advice that I read Beyonce gave I forget, some R&B group that I don't know. And they were just saying like the best advice they got was no scrolling. And they meant specifically about like comments about them. But I found that if I try to just follow the no scrolling rule on any like algorithm platform, I'll look at a couple of things and I'll catch myself, because it's very rare that I'll consciously be scrolling.
Right, because you're kind of like in La La Land at that point. You're just like letting it kind of control you. And I'm kind of the same way, honestly. I didn't realize that's what I was doing, but like, yeah, if I see myself going too far on that, I feel like, what am I doing? Stop.
Yeah.
Like they got you. You're hypnotized, bro. Like they got you in the mix. Let it go. Nothing. You're not really liking what you're seeing anyway. So it's like, let's just do something else.
Yeah.
Like do something else, or work on something, or watch a movie or a show. Put Seinfeld on.
Or check out the Kamal X podcast, which I was really appreciating. So listeners should go check that out. You said something that stood out to me, and I thought it was a place that I wanted to start. This last one that you released was very kind of stream of consciousness, which, by the way, I really appreciate the courage that it takes to do that. And it's something most of us have a difficult time getting to, but for listeners who obviously have like not heard it yet, but you should go hear it. It's on his website. That you just kind of start speaking, and it's coming out very clearly. It's almost like a flow. And I'll let the listeners check that out. But there was one specific thing you said that just stayed out at me. You said sometimes we misunderstand the assignments we've been given, and you weren't telling like a specific story. You were just kind of like flowing. And I want to know if you remember what that means, or just me asking you that. What does that mean? Can you?
Yeah, I think it like as soon as you said it kind of took me somewhere. I think one of the things that I've learned in my life, and I had to learn this, it shifted my life in a great way, is kind of just changing your perspective. The power of being able to look at something one way and learning to take a step back and see it from different angles. And I found that to be very healing, and create opportunity in my life just for my own healing for myself, and just finding out who I am, purpose, getting better at things, not being too hard on myself. So I think from doing that, it's just taught me so much. So when it comes to like, we get assignments that we may misunderstand, it's like sometimes we get so hard on ourselves for certain things that we feel like we didn't do it right, or we didn't handle it right, or we're not good enough. And it's like, you might just not see it the right way. And because you might have a gift in communication, so you might feel like, I need to be a speaker, right? That might be the first thing you think of. I'm a speaker. And speaking might not work out for you. You might not have, a door might not open. You might keep hitting the ceiling or whatever. And it's like, oh, I'm not good enough. And it's like, there's other ways to communicate. Photography is communication. Writing is communication. There's all sorts of forms of getting your word out, drawing, art, all types of things. So that's kind of that's one way of looking at it. And I think we just sometimes can be too hard on ourselves and not see like just how expansive we truly are. Right. And if we like allow ourselves to just, again, sit with things, take some time, we can kind of like re-energize our vibe. I've just seen, like, especially as the older I get, sometimes you see dreams deflate. You see visions kind of like the spark in people's eyes start to dim a bit, couple bad relationships, couple lose a job or whatever, the reality of we all experience in this lifetime, you know, and I see that fire kind of go out, and it's like, yo, don't let that, like, you got assignments. Don't get it twisted. Like, you have purpose. You're here for a reason. Maybe that didn't work out, but that doesn't mean that was the destination. That might have been what you wanted, but your skill set might be somewhere totally different. That relationship that didn't work out, maybe it wasn't meant to be a marriage. It was supposed to prepare you for something totally different that you might not even be thinking about. So a lot of times I for some reason, assignment seems to be like a really important word to me, because I think everything happens for a reason. So yeah, I just think sometimes we can just get way too caught up in what we think it should be and how it should look. And this is a success, this is a failure. And it's like, yo, this world is way too expansive for us to even try to think that we understand all the levels of what's possible in our reality. And the more open we become, I think, the more possibility and freedom and love comes into the play.
Right.
I think, yeah.
Choosing where the frame is, like just even as photographers, there's this entire world, this 360 view to shoot, and there's a reason we choose this one specific frame and zoom in on this one thing, and like that's where the story's beginning and ending. I want you to think of the earliest or the first time or the first memory that pops into your head where you had a profound understanding of what you just described in your life.
I want to say when I was in Atlanta, I moved to Atlanta to, like, literally, I was doing real estate at that point.
What year was this?
This is 2008.
All right. How old are you?
2008. I believe, don't put math to this.
Okay.
I believe I was 26, 27, one of
Okay.
those. And I remember...
Were you doing photography yet at that time?
No, definitely not. At this point, I was trying to find myself.
Okay.
So I moved to Atlanta with the goal of, like, I wanted to change the world. Literally, that was my dream. Like,
All right.
I was doing real estate. I was a successful real estate agent. I was managing properties, and I was like, this ain't for me. I don't want to do this long term. I want to help the world some way. And I moved there, and I remember I lived in this building, and there was this lady. She was a life coach. And she would see me every other day in the hallways of the building, and I would never say hello to her. And I never thought anything about it. One day I went to one of her events, and she told me, like, every time I see you, your head is down. And I was like, what are you talking about? I was like, every time you look so sad and angry. And I was like, I wasn't even thinking about, like, I'm just being me. I didn't realize how I came off to other people. Fast forward, because of that conversation, I said, I think I need this person to be my life coach, because, like, she read me so well. And then during the life coaching, one of the biggest breakthroughs in the beginning that really broke me up was, like, in a good way, was, like, she really pointed out all the ways that I was looking at things so tunnel visionally that I didn't see how other people saw me. I didn't pay attention to what I bring to the room. I didn't pay attention to my outlook. I was just so caught up in my own feelings, my own pain. And even though I was trying to save the world, I was still had so much, I don't want to say darkness, but rage inside me that wasn't yet examined.
Can you give one very specific example of
I want to say the relationship with my stepdad growing up, and the pain that I dealt with that in terms of, and bless his heart, but he was a lot of things, but he was also an alcoholic and abusive. So a lot of pain was within me about that, and I didn't know how to handle it. So even though I was trying to change the world and all that, I wanted to help people, it was like I didn't know how to deal with that in a real way, right? So
where was he at this time?
At this time, I didn't know. I didn't have a connection with him anymore. So I stopped talking to him at 13 years old.
And that was in New York?
That was in New Jersey.
New Jersey, okay.
Mm-hmm. So as I'm getting coached, when she pointed that out to me, the perspectives and everything, it kind of blew my mind, because I always thought of myself as a good person, wanted to help the people, funny, all those good things. And she's like, you was an asshole to me. And then there was examples of it that she showed, and I was like, oh shit, like, she's actually right. Like, I never saw it that way.
Examples of
me just being so caught up in my own world, not paying attention to other people, like not saying, hey, how you doing?
Right.
Smiling at people.
It's like coming off as an asshole.
Yeah, like not purposely, but just not very closed off.
Right,
Put it that way. Like you're not going to come up to me and start talking. Now, if I like you and we're cool and you're my friend and we, but in terms of just everyday people and random people, just very closed off in my own world. And she did a great job in the beginning of pointing it out to me. And I think, like, that was one of my first examples of realizing, like, yo, you need to start looking at things from different perspectives. Yo, like, you can really feel like you're a great person or you're a good person and you're doing the right thing. But are you taking the time to see or ask questions or pay attention to how people really receive you? Like, taking yourself out of your own box, so to speak. And that was the first time I remember that beginning. And that's kind of like shifted my life in so many ways, because I always choose it, whether it's an argument, whether it's me and artistry, if it's business, if it's me, always take a moment to go, okay, let me see this from a couple more perspectives, because it's always, I think growing up, I learned I had to have tunnel vision to get through that stuff. It was very difficult with the abuse and the pressure to be something in this world, and then you go to college and fit the paradigm of like a successful guy or whatever. And because of that, I just felt like I had no wiggle room to really be myself. And so I was almost like a shell of who I really was. I didn't give myself permission to open up. I didn't give myself permission to just like see what you really feel. No one asked me the question she asked me before that point.
I would imagine this was one of those, like what I'm hearing, what it's kind of like reminding me of is when I began meditation, and then I started to see the world differently. Like, oh shit, this is what the world looks like when I'm not a train wreck of anxiety. So I wanted to like go back and re-experience things, like go back to the same bar that I'd been to 1,000 times. Like, whoa, this is what everybody else is experiencing. So I imagine you're having that experience a little bit in the coming years.
For sure. And just like
new perspectives.
And sometimes when I look at photos of me back then, I'm like, what was I thinking? Like I was just a totally different, and people that know me even will tell you this, like I was a different kind of guy in my early 20s versus I'm 37 now. So like, and I'm thankful for that. But I also know a lot of that was based on me living in reaction and not learning how to find myself, not knowing how to like nourish myself and explore things. So I was kind of like just a circumstance, living as a circumstance at that point, unfortunately, because I didn't have the knowledge or support yet to really know the truth.
Right.
So yeah, it's definitely one of the like moving to Atlanta at that time. Literally, if I never did that, I don't know what would have happened, because that changed my life in a great way for sure.
Do you think that was the highlight of it, was connecting with this coach?
I think that was one of them.
Right.
I also had a lot of fun. So Atlanta's a great city, man. I have some friends to this day that like even when I'm out there, I hang with them. They always show love and support. My guy Randy, I got a couple friends out there that I really, really love them to death. And like, yeah, like that. I have like a family vibe back in Atlanta.
Right,
so that is important too, but I think it was like, if I had to use a theme, it was like me like I don't want to say a man, but like definitely coming out of being a kid and a boy. Like it was like growing up to a degree, and then there was definitely more levels that had to go.
Sure.
But that was just like the first time like it really wasn't just me in my room figuring it out. It was like the world was coming in, and it was like, okay, I'm getting new information from real people now, not just books and movies. Like people that really care about me, that are older than me, that have some knowledge, or telling me like, yo. And then I'm meeting people that do stuff I want to do. Yeah. Like she was speaking to like thousands of people. Like she was a legit like life coach, had books out, traveling the world, doing things that I was like, whoa. And I would go with her on tour, like be backstage praying with her before she spoke to these people. I'm like, wow. So at that age, it was like opened my mind up so much. Yeah.
I want to jump forward to your first Burning Man.
Okay.
You're out on Playa. And I want to ask basically the same question, like same scenario. Do you have a memory of being out there and like having this new superpower basically, and going like, oh, cool, it's good. I have this ability to look at this new perspective. Like something's falling apart. Is it an emotional breakdown that's happening? Is it an art project? I don't know what it is. Like you're out in the desert and you have this tool in your utility belt and you pull it out.
I would say it was the first day I actually went out to the playa. Like, because we got there late, so I didn't see anything. It was just dark and light. So I'm just like, okay.
What year was this?
I'm not good with stuff like this.
Ish.
What is it now? I'm so bad with time. So let's say 2018.
Okay.
Or 2017. One of those.
Yeah, fuck it.
Yeah, one of those for sure. I'm really bad with times and dates. I'm just leaving that.
Whatever. It's a construct anyway.
The listeners listen now. I'm bad with that stuff. But yeah. So it was the next day, and I remember like she took my friend Anna. She took me out there, and I remember she took me out there.
She did life coach.
No, this is Anna. This is
Okay.
the friend that introduced me to Burning Man.
Okay.
So I camped with her. She was like, for years, she was like, you should go.
Yeah.
It's like, I don't know. I don't know. And then I just finally went.
She's a long-term burner?
Yeah. She's
Okay.
been probably about 7 or 8 years.
How do you know her?
Met her while traveling in Ecuador. We actually met. We slept on a volcano together.
Yeah, all right.
Like in Ecuador. Like, it was a great, like we did this whitewater rafting thing and we connected. And she's like, yeah, I'm sleeping on this volcano tonight. You want to join us? And I'm like, yeah. So that's how we got really cool. And she actually one of the
No
people
pun
that,
intended.
No, yeah, right. And she's actually the one that really introduced me to photography to the next level, because that night she had a DSLR, Canon 6D, and she was like, what do you shoot with? And I was shooting with an iPhone 4S. And she's like, yo, look at this versus yours. And I was like, okay, I need to get a camera. So she inspired me to buy my first real camera.
Wow.
So she also brought me to Burning Man. So she inspired me.
Let's tell that, and then we're going to jump to the burner story. So you were shooting with your phone just because you were interested in documenting, or you were actually interested
well, I was
in...
traveling the world at that point. So like I dropped everything in like, again, times is weird, man. Don't give me years. But like, let's say 8 years ago or 7 years ago, I dropped everything. No, it was 8 years actually. 8 years ago, I dropped everything and started traveling the world to find peace. And I was just like going, and I was trying to figure out myself. I unfortunately lost my best friend to colon cancer around that time. So at that point, I dropped everything. And I was like, I was a life coach at that time, became a life coach actually. Ona, the woman that I talked about in Atlanta, from that experience, I felt like that's what I wanted to do. Because I was like, it was such a life-shifting experience. It's life-changing, actually. And so I dropped everything. No more coaching, no more. At that point, I was also a physical trainer. I was working at Equinox, and I quit that job. And I just was like, I'm just going to travel and go and figure me out. And it started with one trip to Southeast Asia that was 40 days. And that 40 days ended up becoming about 5 years of traveling off and on. And it was like kind of like an ode to my best friend. Like it was kind of like I did that of thinking of him. Like I was like, you never got to go to these places. You loved that I was a freedom person. We about to roll out, bro. Like that's kind of the whole mentality, and just like connecting with him in a different realm. So I met her kind of like in the beginning of that, like maybe year 2 or 3. And I was traveling through South America, and I met her in Ecuador. So we met that day with the whitewater rafting, and then she told me about the camera. And then I brought a camera. The next country, I think it was either Colombia or Brazil, I got my first camera, and that's kind of how that started. And then we became really close after that because we slept on a volcano. Like, those type of experiences, you don't just like, she was such a special person. And I'm so thankful for her now that I think about it, because like for her to have also brought me to, inspired me to go to the burn, and like she really took me under her wing. I don't know who else would have been that person for me to get me at the burn, because she was the only. I never heard about it. No one was talking about it. Maybe now with social media, I probably would have saw some posts, but she was at that point she'd been like I think 5 times, so she really understood it. And
it takes a special kind of person, because let me tell you, I've been like, I've been going for many years, and I don't really want to take somebody under my wing.
That's what I'm saying, man.
It's a lot of work.
I haven't done it either. And she did it. I was and I remember I was very, but I guess we had some adventures over the years. She's also a traveler. So she just is a very adventurous person, and I would meet up with her in different countries and stuff throughout the years. So I guess I built like we built a certain level of trust with each other. Like, okay, like we done did this country, that country. Let's do the burn. Like she kept saying, I really think you would like it, Kamal. I really think you would like it. I was like, and the thing I give her respect for, she never sold me on it. She never said, this is what it looks like. These are the pictures. She just like, I think you should go. Yeah. I would ask questions like, I just think you should go. I just think you should go. And I remember, so when I'm there that first day.
No, straight up, I'm the opposite these days. I'm telling people not to go.
Trust me, we can talk about. I'm with that. I'm with that 100%.
So you're at the burn.
so I don't know what to expect. I didn't see a bunch of posts on Instagram. I didn't see like videos of what goes on. I know nothing.
Right.
All I saw was the nighttime with the bikes with the lights. So we're in the morning and we're going, and all I see people flying out of the sky. Parachuters, and they had like these flags, long colorful flags coming from their parachutes. I remember it looked like they were like like gliding down like with their feet. Like I think they like hit the ground running or something like that. Then there was like this big balloon matador fight with like the big like blow up balloons, and they were like tussling with each other. Then there was another race going on somewhere over there. This is like in the play, and I just remember I was like, what the is going on? Like I'm like, this is crazy. And I literally started crying. I started crying because I was like, this must be heaven. I was like, I literally was like, this is heaven, man. Like what? And the fact that it was such a shock to my system because there was nothing that could have prepared me, and I didn't get a lot of information from people to even try to prepare me. And I wasn't like looking for information either. I wasn't like, hey, so what is it like? Like I was just kind of thinking like, I'm gonna go. I've traveled. I've been places. Let's just see another experience. I never like the type of person that will like really try to foreshadow an event. I just like to go and see what happens. And yeah, that day, that changed everything. And I instantly fell in love with the playa and the burn, and I instantly was like, I get it. And then the other part that I loved the most, that was the moment that did it though.
Yeah.
But when I started to talk to the actual artist that made the pieces, like I've never had an experience like that. So when I'm seeing these things blowing up in fires, and the dude that made it is just sitting there chilling, and he's like, yeah, this is what I did, and I did it. And I'm asking, I'm like, this is crazy to me. And that was access to what's possible. And I don't think my artistry would be anywhere close to where it's at if I never went to the burn.
Yeah.
It literally exploded my imagination and creativity went. It gave me a license to say I don't give a damn. Like I'll do whatever comes to me that I feel. There's nothing stopping you. That's literally what I experienced on that first burn. And it's been growing and an amazing thing ever since. Yeah.
That we were kind of poking around on something that gave you, like, is there a way that you would have looked at that would have been different before you had this kind of like training to shift perspective?
To shift perspective.
Yeah.
I want to say my perspective, although like I said that I come in very open and like we just see what it is. I immediately paid attention to how I treated her for telling me about this event. Like for years I kind of was like, no, I know. I didn't look at it like a special thing. I thought it was like most people, like a festival. I thought very cliche things about it in the beginning.
Right.
And I was just kind of like, I ignored it. And the fact that she was so nonchalant, like she was not like, you need to go. I think that in a lot of ways, like it taught me a lesson of like, sometimes people, I don't know how to put it. Like, it's like, I just took that as a great note. Like, you should have been more open to this. Why weren't you more receptive? Why did you come with so many preconceived notions? If someone knows you and they're saying, hey, based on who I know you to be, I really think you would like this. And for me not to just take that and that trust and love that I had with her as enough reason to be like immediately, yes, I'm down. But I kind of like, it took like 4 or 5 years for me to finally go. So I think that was a big shift for me. And like moving forward, like I've always learned from that experience. And when someone says anything like that to me now, my curiosity is way higher. Like I'm like, okay, cool. Like I'm more like, you never know what's on the other end of someone that loves you, that's saying, hey, you should try this.
Yeah.
Versus being closed off. Because like I told you earlier with the Atlanta thing, with the life coach that was telling me I was closed off and tunnel vision, that's not like I'm completely healed from that. Like I still have remnants of that. And I always have to kind of be mindful when I am in my like cocoon, so to speak, and like finding the balance of the two. Because sometimes I can be too extreme, and then sometimes I'm so into my tunnel, which it does give me, like I use it for good things too. Like I need to be alone to get things done, but sometimes it can get in the way of new opportunities, new people, new experiences. Yeah.
No, 100%. I get that. That this is like some stuff that I'm writing about right now, like about how like we do have deaths of parts of our identities, but then like they still hold on for a while, and we're still like layering those pieces away. So I really appreciate that story about having had the awareness of it and then continuing to peel away at that.
Yeah.
And I would imagine even like, now, like where are you at on that journey now? Like, do you find yourself saying yes to things a lot faster than you used to, just even in the past however many years you've been burning.
I kick myself in the butt and I say, get up and go. Like once I feel that kind of like, I get like a little lazier, and it's like, go, because you never know what's on the other side of it. And I'm always, not always, but most of the time, I'm pleasantly surprised because I find appreciation in everything. So like I try to find it any way I can. But like even with like photography, like there's moments where you can be shooting all day, you might be tired and you didn't get any photos that mattered to you. And it's like, if I just stay one more hour, who knows? And then I've had moments where like if I would have left, I would have never got that experience. You know what I mean? So like in a lot of ways, I'm always like trying to push myself to like, just try it out. Just go. Just be more open. Just see what happens. Like, because it'll take you somewhere that you've never been. And to me, that's the point of life that I really appreciate. Like even this connection here, you know, like vibing with you. Like if I just said, nah, you know, I'll just stay in my tunnel vision and not reach out to people and try to figure out a way. Look how amazing this is. We've been partying all week, you know, like, you know. So I just it's one of those things. Like I believe in the process. Yeah. Like I choose to believe that something good will come out of these things. And sometimes I fall short. I do, but
well, it's when you're in the community aspect of it, and I think like that's what I've observed in the years in this community is that when we have more and more of us that approach it that way, then things seem to happen faster. So, I mean, I can tell you even like one of the reasons that we're sitting here is, you know, before we started recording, for listeners who I'll fill you in, Kamal and I have been in contact for a couple of months. You were in New York at that time. I don't know where I was, Southern California, I think. And I might've been in Texas. I know that I was like, all right, well, when can we cross paths? And then you said, I'm going to be coming to San Francisco for this photography show, which you had an exhibit and I want you to talk about right now. And I was like, well, I'm supposed to be coming up a couple of weeks after that, but let's continue to communicate and see what happens. Right. And then we ended up connecting. I ended up being up here sooner. And then like this thing ended up happening with this weird pumpkin festival that's happening in Half Moon Bay. So I was like, I don't know if I can make it up here for us to record. But then you had mentioned that you were considering going to Southern California and something in your intuition told you to stay here. So like these little things kept building up on top of each other for this moment to manifest.
Man, that's beautiful. When you
it's
put
a co-creation.
Yeah, 100%. 100%. Yeah.
And I love that. And I'm appreciating your story about like just the example you were giving about like staying another hour. I'm kind of in like the opposite of that because like I find that if I do that, I'll just end up staying for the next 5 hours. So how do you know when to walk away?
Well, I'm already at my edge. So like I know that hour is like, that's the max. It's not going past that. Cause like, unless something magical happens, if I'm in work, like if I'm shooting, that's a little different. Cause like I put everything into that, but like, and I do know my limit though. Like I know when it's like, I know when I'm being lazy versus when I am at my limit. And sometimes it's just laziness. It's just, you don't want to apply yourself. You just want to be in your zone and be comfortable. It's like, no, I get a little uncomfortable, like vibe out. But then there is a point where you're like, all right, you need to go home. Like, or you need to like get back to your guns. You need to get back to your, do whatever you need to be really working on and focusing on what really, the things you've been like slacking on. Like it's kind of like, I just kind of know when I've gone out my max, because then I'm no service to anybody at that point.
Absolutely. Did you have your camera your first burn?
Yeah, I did. I had a not my main one too, because I was so freaked out about the like. And she was like, "Don't bring it down." Yeah. So I had like this little point and shoot, and I took some photos. We did something really cool. I remember the last day we did like photo shoots out there. I had like this Superman cape. You know, and you know, the first year you don't know what to bring. You don't have your voice at the burn yet, so you kind of like. I did bring some cool stuff, and I took some decent photos for sure. It was definitely, and then like most people after that first burn, it was kind of like, you know, back to the drawing board, and now I know what I need, and I need this, and I need that, and I need this, and I knew I didn't want to be afraid to take photos because I just saw so many amazing things that I just, even with myself, just photos of me and my building the camp, all that stuff. I wanted to get more documentation on that. So the next year was like night and day, like whole different level of some of my favorite photos I took at that second burn actually. Like that was really
you shoot a lot. Like like you are the kind of photographer that for years I was trying to force myself to be, and I just like it just wasn't clicking
your
for me.
vibe.
No pun intended. No, absolutely pun intended. But like you're like that dude who's like I mean, I've only spent like a short amount of time with you, but correct me if I'm wrong. Feel like you're more like that dude who's always got the camera with him, like very often. Like you're shooting a lot, you're capturing a lot, and it's the total opposite of me. I spend a lot of time like energy paving and story, like meditating on it and shit like that. And then I have the camera for exactly an hour and a half, and then I put it down.
Then you're done because you got it. I got you. I'm actually a little bit more closer to that than you think.
So? Okay.
I do have now.
Literally the last multiple times I've seen you, you've had your
Yo, it's
camera.
on me. Don't
Yeah.
get because I do have the camera at all times.
Yeah.
But I have it's weird. I have levels of shooting.
Okay.
So I have, again, the tunnel vision thing. This has been actually really, I'm appreciating this conversation because I never really thought about it like this. But like when I'm in tunnel vision, that's a different type of person creatively than when I'm hanging with friends with my camera. Like, so you see me like us hanging out. So like I'm taking pictures not seriously. Like it's kind of like, these are moments, if something great happens, amazing, right? But I'm not in my serious bag of like really trying to like come up with something. So it's like fun. But I kind of have to, like, for me to take photos, that's what I would consider it. It's like I have to, like, set a time and I have to be very, like, intentional about it. And I normally have to be completely alone. Like, I'm not with any friends at all. And that's a different type of, like, that's a different, like, militancy, I would say. And
What's the last time you did that? What was the last gig or project?
I'm kind of doing it off and on now because of the new project I'm doing. But I think it was about 3 weeks ago.
Okay.
And because I've been traveling around, I haven't been able to focus the way I want to. But once I like get my new place in New York, I'm going to be like that, like round the clock, like every.
What were you shooting 3 weeks ago?
A block party in Brooklyn.
Okay.
And that's a part of this bigger thing I'm doing. And so like, yeah, the tunnel vision comes in and then, but like in between time, I do a lot of visualization and note taking. So like I don't just go out and like, oh, I just want to see what happens. Like it's kind of like I'm very like, okay, I think about what I want to do. I think about like the theme of what I'm looking for. I visualize what kind of images or what type of stories I'm hoping I can create.
Right.
And then when I head out there, it like gives me a roadmap to what I should be paying attention to. And oftentimes I see photos before I take them. Surprises do happen, but like in general, I kind of have like these scenes in my head that I'm looking for. And this is from a lot of movies watching. And that's kind of like how, so I am similar to you in a certain way, but I have to shut it off because if I were serious all the time, it would be no fun, man. Like it would be.
I think I'm like a hybrid of those two things that you're describing because I very rarely see it in my head before I shoot it. In fact, I don't even know if I ever do. The way I work is I create a container and then allow play to happen within that container.
Nice.
So I'm super intrigued by that. So on when you're on Playa, are you in friend shooting mode or
friend for most of the time? When I'm with friends, I'm with friend. I'm in friend zone. If someone wants a serious photo, I'll try because I'm like, take a photo. Like I'll do my best to do something good, but I normally save at least 3 days, like whether it's at night or during the day, or like half of the day to just be on my own and I'm shooting. Like I'm going out with like, I let people know like, hey man, I'm shooting today, like, or this is the day, like, so I can just have fun and vibe out. I don't have to like let the worlds mix because I kind of like, again, the tunnel vision is real. Like you're going to be like, he's not even here anymore. Like, and like, that's just my personality. It comes up in relationships too. So, like it's always like when I'm in a relationship, I always have to tell someone like, okay, like we're going to be great. I love you a lot, but I have this thing, like I get into these tunnel visions and like, I just get hyper focused on things and it can seem like I'm so into it, like nothing else matters. And it's like something I used to think was like weird, but like as I've gotten deeper into my artistry, I figure out it's like my superpower. It's like the thing that I do really, it helps me get very like focused and just execute what I need to do. And then I have the balance of like, okay, I'm back.
Yeah.
Hey, what's up? Like, let's chill, let's have a great time. But it's something I always have to navigate. And it's something that just is who I am. Yeah.
Is that more challenging to do on Playa?
No, because as long as I keep it like, like scheduled, so to speak. Like I have this time I'm gonna do this, and normally I do it like late at night, honestly. Like I like going out late, like the night is over, we done went to our things, we hang out, and now I'm like, oh, let me okay, I'm still up, let me just get my bike and just do my thing now. Like and I generally enjoy it too. That's the other part. Doesn't feel like work at all. It's like it feels so good. It's like a release to like create and be out of it. But I also love people. I'm a very big community person in terms of vibing and connecting. That's like hugely important. That's where I get a lot of my inspiration, and then it comes out through the tunnel vision.
Yeah. Is it? What do you think captures your eye first? Is it shape? Is it color? Is it personality? Emotion?
I go for emotion. I'm a very I think emotionally, I'm sensitive. I am, and I've dealt with a lot of different emotions in my life that I've had to like through a lot of work and getting help and therapy, learning how to navigate and be honest with and open with, and because of that, I find myself like when I see it, I see it. Like when I see, even if it's joy, it can be sadness, anything in between. Like once I feel it, I'm like, okay, now. Like that's what I'm always looking for. It's always the emotion before anything else. Like I know some photographers will find a scene first and wait for someone to come into the frame. There's some people that might have different ways of going about it. Me, it's always emotion first. Then I quickly try to figure out, okay, how do I frame this? But I feel something about you is special. Something about you makes my heart kind of like, I'm intrigued in a way that has nothing to do with aesthetics. It's like who you are is special to me for some reason. Yeah.
When you were traveling and you got your first camera, is that what you were going for then as well?
No, at that point it was my mindset was how do I get to work this thing? Like, because it was such a it was such a difficult thing to learn, man. It was just like, but it was only 3 dials. It's like, how can these 3 dials be this difficult to master? It was just like all these numbers. And so I think initially,
I still haven't done it. So.
Yeah. So I think it was a lot of that. It was a lot of like just wanting to figure out how do I work this. And I've always been like that as a kid. Like I always picked up things and technology. I've always been that way. So that was the beginning. And then I didn't get into, and then I wanted cool posts on Instagram. Honestly, I just wanted to fly stuff on Instagram. But then, one of my friends, actually, she was instrumental in my career. She doesn't know this, but she is. Because I went from taking pictures of stuff that I was seeing to taking pictures of me. And she hit me up like, yo, why are you taking pictures of you now? I kind of liked it better when you were showing me your world. Now you're doing what everyone else is doing. I was like, really? And it's like, that kind of gave me, this before I thought I was an artist or anything like that. So I was like, wow. And I remember I kept doing it because she said that to me. I was like, oh, that's cool. Because I respected her opinion so much. And I know for like, when you get too caught up in taking pictures of yourself, you're not really expressing what you're seeing. And I was traveling the world, like we said. And like, I feel like I owed it to myself and people that really are like supporting me, like show them what you're seeing, like you're seeing so many great things and they should know it's more than taking pictures in front of the Eiffel Tower. Like there's more going on in these places, that remote places, especially, like I wanted that to be seen. So yeah.
Yeah. So then you were sharing earlier about how your entire perspective on that changed from like meeting the artists and like connecting with artists on Playa. So tell me how the next couple of years unfolds on that journey. Like how did that inspire you to go deeper into this process, and what kind of came out of that?
I think again, like, yeah, when I remember there was a moment there was another moment at the burn, that first burn, there was an Afro pick that year done by, I forget the artist's name. He's amazing. Hank something. And amazing artist, right? And I took a picture in front of it. I have like tiger print pants. Tiger is my vibe, right? So I had like these highlight shorts. I had this blow up couch, and I'm like just hanging. It's one of the greatest I love that photo for personal reasons so much. And like, I remember it was just like me giving myself permission to really let the tiger out the cage for real. Like that's what I felt like out there. It was like finally a place that makes sense. And after I left that burn, I never again, I never wanted to be shy anymore about my creativity. I seen people doing things that were so out of this world. It was like, okay, you can do that too. You know, you want to, like, you know, you want to be doing this. Like, and it was like, it just it freed me in inspired me to be free in a way that I never experienced before. And the first thing I said to myself, honestly, was like, yo, you don't have to just do this at the burn. Like, you don't have to just be this free person for those 7 days or whatever. Yeah. You can be this. This is going to be this. Like, just do it. And like, it kind of like just shifted my perspective on everything in life. Like, you know, and I can't remember if I consider myself an artist yet when I went, though. I can't remember. But I know that I really started experimenting with style, experimenting with like different type of shooting. I remember just like my clothing choices shifted a lot. Like I was just like being way more open-minded with like how I express myself and not caring too much about like fitting in and all that stuff. So
it's wild.
It was like, yeah, really.
It's only been like 3 or 4 years.
Yeah. It just really, it just like, I tell you, it was like everything was already there. I just needed the pass. Like let me, cause a lot of things I just need to see it. That's the thing. Like if I don't, not that I don't explore things my own, but sometimes that inspiration visually can just, it helps me. Like I'm from Newark, New Jersey. Like there's a lot growing up, you know, where I'm from, you just never experienced. Like even being a traveler, like being a backpacker, that was a new concept. I never knew anyone that did that. That's why I did it. It was like, okay. And then when I got out there and I saw how it's done, I remember when the day I showed up to the first day, there was like these other travelers there. They saw my backpack, my bag, and I had it so packed. It was like, you got a 40-day trip, bro? How you got all this stuff with you? And they literally put everything on the bed. Like, just drop it on the bed. And then, like, the whole twin-size bed was full of clothes and sneakers and, like, real nice clothes, by the way. It wasn't even travel or clothes, right? And it's like, I would get rid of half of that at least. Like, and I was like, what? He's like, yeah, you didn't even start yet. You're going to go to all these beautiful places. You're going to want to bring stuff. You're going to buy stuff. You want to have souvenirs. It's like, really? So I literally threw about 60% of it away, 60-70% of it away. And that was like a great lesson for me because it was like letting go. It was like you're letting go of the baggage, all the stuff you don't need. And so fast forwarding to the burn, it just felt like I just let go of whatever that other baggage that needed to, like the new level of me kind of was born. And I remember I had a theme. I said, man on fire. Yeah. Like that was my man on fire year. And I was like, I'm just going to like blaze the trail and be me unapologetically. And it's opened up so many doors. And it's like, I never look at anything like I can't do that. Or there's not a way for me to figure out a way to do something. Like it's just, there's a way. Like you have to figure it out. You got to ask questions. You got to push yourself. But there's nothing you can't do. And again, just thinking about this moment that we're having right now and you even connecting with me at the art show yesterday. Like that was a dream of mine. Like that's to be in that room, to sell out all the books and all that stuff. Like I'm just like, am I living in reality? Like
let's fill everybody in on that. Cause I came up to you and I was telling you, I'll share with the listeners what I was telling you. So we connected and you had the art show last night. What was the name of the gallery?
111 Minna.
Okay. Yeah. So you had a piece there. It was a large photographic print, and it was a gal. I can't describe her pose.
Like kind of like ascending into the air. Yeah, astronaut suit.
Yeah, and then next to her is a sign.
The sign that says, "Don't be a slave to the algorithm."
Yeah,
with all these all these iPhones on the floor with X's on them.
That was great.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
That was like a setup. So that was like you had that vision. You wanted to create that shot.
Oh yeah. That was. I just said I bought the clothes. I was like, yo, just wear this. I need you to. She did improvise a little, like how she kind of like it was ascending. I was like, yo, do that. But like I knew I wanted something that was gonna be like like free your mind, basically. I was like, I want to do my own version of free your mind, and I didn't want to just say free your mind. So don't be a slave to the algorithm.
Sure.
Yeah.
No, it was. Because my buddy and I were walking around looking at all the pieces there. It was like a lot.
Yeah,
100 something.
Yeah, it was going down.
A packed house.
Yeah.
it was the most San Francisco that is ever San Francisco, right? And we're like walking around this and your piece was immediately the thing that captured me.
Oh wow. Wow.
And then like I went up to it and I saw your name on it. I'm like, oh, because we hadn't seen each other yet.
Oh wow.
And then I came and saw you at where you were set up with your books. Wow. And that's when I'd share with you. I'm like, I was really like relieved because like I knew it was gonna be dope. Don't get me twisted. Like I knew it was gonna be a good piece. It's just like, you know, we get invited to like our friends' shows.
I know what you're saying. Yeah.
I'm like, I'm probably gonna like it because my friends are dope. Don't get me wrong.
Right.
But then like some part of me is a little like every once in a while I've been to a show and I'm like, it's okay. Like I'm not like you think
you gotta like do that thing where like, oh, it's great, but you
want to be supportive, but like you know, and like the people that I'm closest to are the ones that like want to hear the truth, which is why they get better. By the way, their art gets better. But there are people that sometimes I'm just like diplomatic, right? Like we're not super close,
exactly.
And I'm just gonna say like, keep up the good work.
Yeah, man, I like it, man. Keep rolling. Yeah.
Maybe it would be good to get some more input on this message you're putting out into the world, but you know, it's okay. But like, so I saw it and I had this moment of like, fuck, this is my favorite piece.
Oh, wow.
At this event.
Wow.
And that really excites me.
Wow.
To be able to like look right in your eyes and tell you your piece is my favorite piece at the event, which just makes it feel super dope.
Yeah, that's crazy. That's amazing, man.
To be like, yeah, I came here for this dude, and then like this is my favorite piece at the event. So that was really cool.
Wow.
And you know, just even leading up to that, like I've been aware of your work for a while now, and I've been a fan for a long time. So
thank you so much.
So it's been really great to be able to like connect and have this conversation. So I want you to tell me about how last night came to be and tell us about the book.
Thank you so much, by the way. That means a lot. I'm never going to forget what you just said to me, just so you know. That means the world, honestly. That's man, the journey it takes to get to that point is what
I'll tell you. My favorite thing about my life these days and my social circles and my burner community, my favorite artists are my friends. My favorite DJs are my fucking friends.
That's beautiful, man. That's fun. That's amazing.
I'm sure we can go pay $300 to go see a famous international whatever, but like no, all my favorite DJs are my fucking friends. Like they've been on this show. Like,
that's amazing. That's fly, bro. That's fly. I would say, so the journey. So I was living in Oakland. I moved here 4 months before the pandemic hit. And I was loving it too, man. I love it out here, right? I was like, this might be it. Like I just really was vibing. It made sense to me.
What brought you out?
I was just exploring, honestly, trying to find a place to live. Like I didn't want to be, you know, I'm from New Jersey. I loved New York, but something about me was like I wanted to be on the West Coast. I don't know what it. I don't know. Not
it's
just
the best
weather.
coast. That's okay.
It's a vibe. It's a vibe, man. So I remember like I was in LA, it didn't work out, and I was like, let me go. I never gave North California a chance. Let me try it out before I moved back to New York. Just give it a go. And that first 4 months I was like, yo, I think actually I can. I didn't think I would stay forever. But I was like at least 3 years. Like I just really like it out here. I want to continue to grow as an artist. Like I felt like the energy was right. And I moved out, then the pandemic hit. So once the pandemic hit, you know, that halted everything. And then I was in a very tough space, like we all were, because I was in lockdowns and I didn't have people that I was really close to out here. So it was kind of like I was really on lockdown. I saw no one for months. Like all I had was the social media. I mean, like FaceTime. That's about it. No social interaction with anyone.
You're like new to the area, so you don't have a ton.
I couldn't. I was scared to go on planes, so it was like there was no going to New York and New Jersey. And then I'm afraid if I go there, my mom might get sick. So there was a lot of like I had to stay in that spot. So when the George Floyd, when he was murdered and all that went down, I remember I was like, before that, I kind of really had this wanting to take pictures of movements that shaped our history. But I was afraid that I was never going to be able to experience anything like that, like the 70s and the 60s and 80s and even the 90s. Like I was like, I don't think America's like that anymore. Like it's not happening. Like things are not perfect, definitely. But in terms of that type of fight, I didn't know if I would be able to take those pictures. Like for example, like the Million Man March or something like that. I'm like, will I ever experience that and have my camera out to take those moments? So when George Floyd happened, I immediately was like, I have to stand up for this. I have to step up. I gotta do it. I gotta do it. Like, and it meant like for me, I felt like I was risking my life in a lot of ways. It's like either through sickness or with who knows what's happening out there. It was crazy. So I just was like, but I owe it to the people that have been murdered and like all the unfortunate things that have happened to people unjustly. And I have this voice, this camera. I'm like, I'm going to use it 100% and just go all in. I'm not going to hold nothing back. I'm going in. So I did that, and that was the beginning of the book. I called it Black Astronaut because in a lot of ways I felt like the air was like, with COVID in the air, with, you know, all the protective gear and going out, America seeming like and feeling like a new planet. Like nothing made sense to me when I stepped out that house. Like it was like, what is happening? And then what CNN said was going on, or news outlets were saying was going on, was not what I experienced outside either. So I'm like, I feel like I'm an astronaut, man. This is crazy. What is going on? Like, and in a lot of ways, I feel like the environment was just like, everything about it said, go home, go back inside. This is dangerous. And I kept like, I felt like I was a man on a mission. So I was like, no, I'm gonna keep going. I'm gonna keep going. So those photos started getting some traction. I won like this award, like Lens Culture Award. And I remember I didn't even know I won. Like they were emailing me for like weeks about it. I didn't even know. Like, and it was like money too. I was like, what? How did I not see that email? Yeah. And I won, and I never thought I would win that. I remember I applied to that award a couple times. I never even got like close.
I want you to kind of go back to this experience a little bit more. Just for listeners to also describe, and I want you to tell me if this was a part of your experience too. You are, by the way, taller than me, which is weird because I'm like 6'5". So you are now the only other guest who was like taller than me was Leon Feingold, who's the lead and founder of New York Dangerous, Camp New York Dangerous.
Oh,
so,
nice. Fly.
Funny enough, a couple of guys from that area are the two tallest guests I've ever had.
That's how we roll.
So I want you to tell me a little bit more about that experience, like being out and shooting, because like as a tall person, I learned very early on, I can't be a fly on the wall. Yeah. I can't. I have no choice but to like get out in the middle of it. Yeah. Yeah. And the more I try to be a fly on the wall, the more it kind of weirds people out because they're like, why are you trying to hide? Yeah. So I just found that I just get out there. So I want to know what that was like for you going out and shooting protests.
I think it was very challenging because I was afraid of so many things. Like, especially the first, like, 3 weeks or so, I remember every time I would come home, I would just be like, am I sniffling? Am I coughing? Is my fever up? Like, I just didn't know if I got sick because I was in people's faces all day, you know? And then the fear, especially at night, the daytime was cool because it was like, yeah, it's more peaceful and it was more organized and you had, like, more families, not families, but just people that were a little bit more mature, I would say.
So is this tunnel vision mode, by the way?
Yeah, I'm in tunnel vision. This is like, I'm in. Like once I go in, I'm in. Like
for what period of time?
Every time I'm outside. And
so honestly, this is like a week, a month?
No, shooting. I shot for Black Astronaut for 3 years. Okay. So
this was it. Like it was a very clear. Like you could see you are shooting to tell this story, and it's all going to be presented.
I didn't know it would be a book.
Right.
I didn't know that at that point.
But you know it was the same project.
I knew that it was something I wanted to record. I knew that like I wanted to give a voice to something. I feel like the pictures I was seeing was not giving a great representation of what was actually going on. And I was like, I feel like I wanted to have my voice added to the conversation. I want to take pictures of this from a perspective that makes sense.
Elaborate on that a little bit.
So like a lot of times you'll see like a lot of the photos of that time, a lot of it is like the rage and burning buildings and yelling and fists up in the air and all that. And that's important. That's happening. That's true. But there's also a level of compassion. There's a level of like, not necessarily pain, but just there's other multitudes of emotions that are going on that I felt like were not getting the light of day.
Right.
And again, back to our conversation earlier when I was saying like, I go for emotion. I go for different types of emotions too. I'm not just triggered by rage, angry. Oh yeah, take a picture. It's like, sometimes I get bored with that too because it's like, okay, or wait till the rage dies down. Wait till that person's done yelling and get them when they sit down and they're tired. Get them when they're talking to their friends or they're trying to figure out how to get home or even if they just lost for a moment. There were so many other things happening. And
Because rage alone is not sustainable.
It's not, and oftentimes it's not the truth of what's happening. It doesn't. It kind of. It's like the button we press when we're offended or hurt, and it's like the truth of it is the pain, you know. And I think all of us, especially in that time, deserve to get more time to express everything. Like I've seen other books, and no hate on them or whatever. Bless all of them, but I feel like a lot of those books that I saw that were based on the same time period, I didn't see a lot of the truth behind the rage. I just see rage and look at this, and I think it's, don't call it lazy, but I feel like there's more to it, and that's what I wanted to do anyway.
I hear you. I don't want to call it lazy either, but I hear you.
Yeah, it's like
exactly what you're describing.
Yeah,
it's because it's a living, breathing thing, and it has different aspects to it, has different parts to it. And the thing that just keeps coming up in my mind as you're describing this is it's like a movement has all of the emotions, and it's not a legitimate movement if all it is rage. Yeah. Right. Like if because that you get tired at some point, you got to take a nap.
Right.
But it feels to me like and please cut me off if I'm wrong on any of this. I feel like you were seeing it as the way that you can contribute is by fostering a sort of like protective energy around this movement as if it's a living thing so that it can continue to breathe and move forward. Yeah. And it's like one of the ways that we could nurture the movement in order to continue to breathe and move forward is to hold space for it and to tell all aspects of it rather than that, let me just take the most sensationalized part of it that goes on the front page of the newspaper.
Right. Exactly. That's exactly it. And it's like, I always attested to like how I feel personally. Like I never want to be typecast, so to speak. I never want you to see me in one light. I want to give not just a benefit of doubt, but I want to have the fluidity to be all parts of me. You know, I'm not just one thing. I'm not just an artist. I'm not just like, I remember one time I got called a Black Lives Matter photographer. I was like, wait a minute, what? Like, when did that happen? I didn't know. I didn't put that on my bio. So, you know, I think sometimes, so even in my story.
Whoa, that's a trip because it's like, are they saying you are photographing Black Lives Matter or that you become... You are like,
exactly.
like the label.
Deep. I don't even know.
It just goes. It becomes a rabbit hole.
That's
right?
what I'm saying. When I heard it, I was just like, "What? All right, like that's crazy." So again, I'm very open minded with people too. Like I am. Like I think we're just more dynamic than we give ourselves credit for. So that's like a big part of my shooting style. Like I'm always going to try to see, like we said, different perspectives. It's like I do the same thing with my artistry. It's like, there's more to the story. There's more nuance that's happening. It's like, and you got to take your time with people. And to your point about being a big person and taking these photos, I feel like it is true. I do have a good way of asking. I've gotten very comfortable with going up to people and asking. But a lot of those photos, I feel like I couldn't ask because it was just in the moment. It's going down. You can't say, "Hey, can I take a photo of you?" as you're yelling at these police officers. Like it's like you. But I do think I have a way that I've learned. I think life coaching actually helped me with this tremendously. Honestly, like one of the things I had to learn was how to, meet people where they are and create comfort. I think you do that really well because I'm in this conversation. It's like phenomenal, and I know, like I'm noticing the way you're going about this conversation. It reminds me a lot of that kind of energy of knowing how to meet someone where they are, make them comfortable through your comfort. Like your comfort makes me comfortable, So like when I'm shooting, it's kind of like the same energy. I come in there like, just kind of chill, like it's like, but don't get it twisted. Like I know exactly what I'm doing, but I don't show that intensity when I come in the room. It's kind of like I come there as fluid as I can be, but my vision is very, I feel like it's very sharp. So that's helped me with getting in spaces and people kind of feel like they know I'm there, but they look at me as like, oh, he's chill, he's cool, he ain't really, because there's some photographers coming real aggressive, like, and it's like that energy, they're going to get tense. I get tense when people do that to me. So I've learned to kind of...
They make it about them.
Yeah. And I think when you do that and you show and you have respect for who you're shooting and what they're saying too, and you understand it, like there were times, to be honest with you, as a black photographer, like there were moments where I saw like a lot of like white photographers taking pictures of things, and I would see the subjects kind of being uncomfortable or not giving them. But when I came over, there was a like, nah, he cool. Like there were legit moments I got because I was black, and they knew like, oh, you're not just taking these photos to get like on news time, whatever, something online or something. Like this is, you feel what I feel. Like there's a connection, and it gave me access also that I greatly appreciate, because there were just so many moments that literally were like that. And I remember the other photographers just like mad about it, but it is what it is, you know. It happens in different. We all have our whatever, but
no, it's spot on. I feel like I would imagine some of these the angry only images we're talking about. I would imagine a white photographer might lean more towards trying to get that, you know, the angry image more.
Yeah, because he doesn't necessarily understand the rate. He doesn't understand the voice. He hasn't lived it. He doesn't.
The underlying energy.
Yeah, you got to recognize it, and also be like a person of the people, like in general. Because like if I do take pictures of things, like when I've traveled through India, or what's another place I really like taking pictures in? Brazil. You know, there's places I've been that like I don't necessarily understand the day-to-day life, but my compassion, I feel like, helps me even in those environments too.
Yeah.
And that's just, I think, something that I've just learned from my story. And I mean, I'm not saying I got it all figured out here, but like,
no, it's 100%.
It's helped me tremendously with the type of shooting I like to do. And I just like to be comfortable myself, man.
Yeah.
I'm really big on that. So
no, we've talked about this topic on this show on more than one episode, I'm sure. We did an episode with I interviewed Mike Whitten, who's an amazing photographer in Texas, and we talked about sort of like the difference in shooting local burns versus like the big burn. And I've been giving this, you know, I've been kind of like playing around with this talk called Candids and Consent, kind of like how to shoot in public spaces, and really a lot of it comes back to like what you're describing, which is you know, like there are for example, event photographers will go in and like photograph an event, and they're shooting it as like observers from a distance. They're almost like it's like they're collecting Pokemon.
Yeah.
And those are the ones that don't feel good, and you can't quite understand why it doesn't feel good when you're being photographed by that guy, but it just doesn't feel good.
Yeah.
Whereas
it's not personable.
Yeah. Whereas like the encouragement that I would give people, like when I was talking to photographers about like shooting at burns, because especially like when you get into like more like local level burns, there's a lot of vulnerability.
Yeah.
And the approach is to like, remember, you're a part of this. You're a part of this community.
Right.
You're telling the story rather than like hiding from a distance with your zoom
with a
lens,
zoom all
trying
the
to
way in the
capture,
corner,
you know,
trying to get a real vibe.
Yeah.
I remember. I keep a very. I need to get close. I need to get close to the type of shooting. I think when I first started, I did that. I had like a 70 to 200. And I remember I was just like, nah, this just feels very, I feel like I'm a sniper or something.
Right.
Like I want to, and then the best photos I always would see, like the ones I would look that really inspired me were always like they were there. And I'm like, they were in it. Like you got to really get, and it's scary. I'm not going front. It is tough to do it. But
I mean, you did it in a, this is 3 years.
Yeah,
you were really rolling the dice there.
Yeah, and I literally had to like take a break. Like I had to go opposite, because I really was the tunnel vision thing we've been talking about. Like I was so, to get the book published, to come with the whole design is all mine. Like I did that. Everything is me. It's like, so like I was so like intentional about how I wanted to look, what I wanted to say. I knew that the work that I risked my life to take, I feel like it deserved that level of like me. I didn't want to feel like, oh, if it doesn't work, damn, I could have went a little harder. I knew I could have pushed myself to learn how to do design. I could have, I was like, nah, this is too important. This might be it. You might not do another book ever. Like, I don't know. Like, I hope I do more, but you just never know what happens. When you get an opportunity, you got to put your all into it and just focus on that thing. And that's what I did. So the 3 years, and then, during that time, after I won the Lens Culture Award for some of the photos, and I called it The Beautiful, actually. The Beautiful is what I called it. And the whole point was like the beauty and all the rage. And I remember I reached out to them in an email. Like I was like, hey, I have this series. I'm looking for galleries that might want to show it. And they was like, well, we're not doing any of that right now with the pandemic, but they did this they had like this show that was like a television broadcast they did online. It was like a live stream. It was like, we'll give you a 30-minute segment. And like I was basically on TV. Like it was like they gave me 30 minutes.
Nice.
They had my photos come up and I explained it all. They had like I had music, I had a background, and it was like they did this like 10-hour or 2 day. It might have been 2 days actually. Broadcast from a certain area, and like the whole everyone that you saw there was probably watching this. Some of them were in it, and that was like a big deal for me during the pandemic because everything was I was such in lockdown. So I have a special relationship with 111 Minna because of that opportunity they opened. And then I remember we hung out a few times after that with the owners, and we just really clicked. To this day, it's just a real genuine vibe. And even one of the owners, Dave, yesterday was like, "Man, I'm so happy you sent that email. If you never sent that email, man, this would have never happened," you know? So back to, that's kind of the story of 111 Minna. That's a little bit of Black Astronaut, how it got to this point, and that image, man. I'm so thankful that you came and experienced it. And that was, I've been in other art shows, but that was a special. Last night was special for a lot of reasons. Like I really appreciated it. Yeah.
It was an honor to witness it then.
Oh, I love, man.
I want to jump back, and then I want to jump back forward again to come in for a landing, since we're talking about flying and astronauts.
Let's do it.
I want to jump back to you're 12 years old.
Okay.
And you're in New Jersey, and it feels to me like there was, your interest in emotions and holding space for emotions. I wonder if that traces back to being a child and feeling that space was not perhaps held for you with your stepfather and
100%
what you were experiencing. Can you touch on that a bit?
Yeah, definitely. Growing up, my mom, I would say, is my everything. We're like damn near twins. A little different, but we're twins. And like she was a little different, and her approach was, she always would ask me questions like, "Yo, what do you think? What do you like? How do you feel about these things?" She would never say, "Think this way, be this way. You gotta be." She never said, "You gotta go to college and be it." Like she never gave me that. She's like, "Well, what do you want to do? What do you want to do?" And she's a self-made woman and entrepreneur, so she went outside the box to create her reality. So I think she kind of instilled that in me too. Like you can be whoever you want to be. Just I want to nurture you for you. Whereas my stepdad,
What did she do? I'm sorry.
She has daycare centers in real estate.
Yeah.
And she, whereas my stepdad, although I really appreciated his discipline, which is really important, there also was the extreme of it, which was the abuse and the alcoholism. So, and she was also building her daycare centers and the whole real estate stuff while he had more time to be with us. So the moments I had with my mom was amazing and freeing. It was like a dream, like great times. But then when we was in the house with my stepdad, it was kind of like, it wasn't horrible, but it was kind of like walking on eggshells. Like, don't get him angry. Don't be too loud. Don't aggravate him because you can get beat. It'll be something crazy go down. Get yelled at. So it was just like constant. Like I remember it was so bad. Like if I'm sitting at a kitchen table and he walks behind me just to get like something out the fridge or something, the skin on the back of my neck would, like, it was that level of fear in the house. Yeah. So, and that's all the time. So and then there was discipline. He was a veteran. So he would the Vietnam and all that. So the level of discipline was like, he was cool, he was funny, but like I couldn't do what other kids can do. Like I remember I played like little league baseball, and like I remember there was a time where like one of the coaches let everybody say damn one time. It was like, "Not you, Brown. Don't you say it." Yeah. Like it was like, your dad will whoop your ass. Like and it was right. I was like, I was mute. Like, nope, I'm not saying nothing. And I was even very shy because of that. Like I always had a lot of personality, but I was almost, some people didn't even know what I sound like because I was just so afraid to share my voice because I didn't want to do anything that would disrupt the household. I didn't want to make him mad. And I didn't want to go out into the world and do anything wrong and get like someone say, "Oh, Kamal did this." So I was a very well-behaved kid because I was scared to get my ass whooped when I got home. Beyond regular discipline, it would go somewhere else. And I think because of that, a lot of my voice, I never really like let it out like that. It was like there was no space for that. And it was eating me up because my high school years were extremely turbulent college was extremely turbulent. And I think the thing that was really eating me up was a multitude of things, but a lot of it was just not being able to explore who I truly am, or getting examples of like, how do you feel? What's going on with you? Like, and having that support. My mom tried her best, but at the same time, I was like rebel. I was a rebel at the same time. So I wasn't even that close with her as I got older. I was kind of like trying to find family through my friends. And, you know, that felt good and that was great, but that wasn't guidance and leadership. That was community, you know. And I had some great father figures, I think, that like helped out, because my stepdad stopped being in my life at 13. And I think at that age, it was freeing to finally get away from that. My mom kind of knew, like, we gotta get you out. She cared more about me, enough about me, that she knew I couldn't have Kamal grow up to be what he's going to make him be. So she like finally finished it. And I feel like the journey from 13 to, let's say, 20 to 25 or 26 was like dealing with all that shit. Like, it was fine. Like, I was off from the umbrella. I was free of the umbrella. And it took that long to unscrew that shit. And if you think about it, that was 13. So that was 13 years of that. And it took another 13 years for me to get out of it.
Sure.
It's crazy. I didn't even look at it that way. 26 was when I finally kind of like let go and moved to Atlanta and all that. So
in order to change the world.
Yeah. And I think that's a big reason for my testimony and why I understand the importance of voice. And why like going to Burning Man and things of that nature like meant so much to me, in terms of just getting that affirmation, getting that like the comfort. And again, that's why I'm so into comfort. I'm so into making sure people are comfortable around me, because I grew up, like I told you, like the kitchen table, man, like literally like freaking out, you know, like, and it's just like, I don't ever want to put that on anybody. I don't ever want to like create a space where that's okay. And not more importantly, but in addition, I don't want to have issues of myself that I'm not dealing with, and I might be creating this reality without knowing it. Like, I might be being too tense and angry and like going off, and not necessarily abusive physically, but maybe emotionally I might be abusive because I'm not dealing with my shit. And I think when I look at John, that was his name, I feel like I have love for him, but I know he just didn't have the help he needed.
Right.
That wasn't on purpose. He didn't mean to do that to me. It wasn't like fuck you, kid. It was like, I got pain, bro, and I got nobody to go to, just like I would have been if I never found help. You know what I mean? So I have a certain level of compassion for, you know, stuff like that. And it's why my whole thing has been about your voice and who are you. And that's what really matters at the end of the day for me.
Yeah. I feel that. So this latest burn, I feel like for you was like a victory lap.
Oh yeah.
Cause you've had this whole journey, and then Burning Man introduces you to the idea that you can, you know, go off on this like to truly dive into the artist experience. And then you do Black Astronaut, and now you come like this latest burn, you come back to the playa having accomplished like this thing that like set you off. Like it set you off. A lot of artists, like a lot of people, like a lot of burners I talk to on this show, like they end up bringing art to the playa, but like you ended up lighting it up to go out into like the default world and to create out there on a big level. So tell me about what that's been like this last burn, to be on playa with this new identity.
So I didn't go to the last one that would just pass, but the one before that.
Right.
So the Black Astronaut wasn't done yet. But
the book wasn't done yet.
Excuse me?
The book wasn't done yet.
Yeah, Black Astronaut, the book wasn't done. I didn't
You're
even
shooting it though.
shoot it. No. At that point, this is
2000.
Because the pandemic hit. I started shooting after the pandemic. So I never went to a burn and was shooting for Black Astronaut. What I was shooting for at that point was the Quest Supreme. A Quest Supreme, which is my first photography book that was self-published. That's on the 5 years of traveling. That's my baby. That book is important to me. I literally learned photography as I was shooting for that book. And so I came to the burn not with that book finished, but I was in a certain space of like, I knew I had a book I was creating. I wasn't afraid anymore of like my artistic voice. I was like all in, and then I had the first burn under my belt. So it was like, I'm here. Oh, actually, my okay. So the third one, you're right. Okay. No. See, no. It wasn't. Wait. My memory. So I told you, time is weird with me, man.
What is the most recent Burning Man you've been to?
The one before the last one.
Okay.
The one before the rain situation.
Right.
Whatever that last one was.
So 2000. We're in 2020 to 2022.
You're right.
The first one post-pandemic.
Thank you for that. Sorry, guys. Sorry about that. Sorry. My brain is... Time is... I'm telling you, I got a weird thing with time. So...
When did Black Astronaut get published?
It got published 2023.
Okay. So like... The project, though... This is what I'm getting at. Like, you came back to Burning Man as, like...
I got you.
An artist in the game.
Yeah.
Like,
you're so right. I can't believe I totally missed. Like I totally get what you're asking. Like I just blinked on that. Wow. Okay. So it was crazy. Yeah. It was crazy. Like it was wild, man. Yeah. No, like I felt so good. You know what started happening that was kind of cool was like I would be at events at the burn. And I would say, hey, I'm Kamal. Like, oh, I seen your work. And that kind of like was like, wow. Like, it was kind of like, I love your work. And I'm like, you see my stuff? Like, and it's just like, that's support. That's love. That's hard work also. And I want to say, it feels really, really like, it's just more of a thankful space. Like, just thankful for everything. And like, and definitely being very, I think I try to share as much as I can with people. Like if people ask me questions, I always try to give all information I can. Like I'm never going to be like, I can't tell you this because I don't want you to compete with me. There's no competition to me. We're all in this together. I don't believe anyone's competing with each other is ever going to really make you get to the next level that you want to really. I've never experienced that. So it felt amazing. It just felt so like almost a victory lap. Like to come back in that space and just be thankful and thinking about all the people I connected with, the stories and the inspiration. Like as I look at the art pieces out there that year, I remember just being like, yo, this is where it all started, man. Like you done got this. The other book came out already. So Quest Supreme is already out. I'm doing this. And I just remember just being in bliss, man, honestly. Like just feeling in bliss and wanting to help, honestly. Like the first thing I was like, because I'm talking to people that they're on their first burn or maybe they've been to more than one and they're talking about what they want to do. And I'm like, yo, you just know that the world is a big place, man. You can do anything. Like you don't have to just do it here. You can do it all over the world. Like you have a voice and it matters. Like this is a great place to try out some stuff too. Don't get it wrong. Like it's a very supportive community. You can do anything you put your mind to really, but also I'm always telling people like never think that what your light is should only shine here. Like this is you. There isn't like, oh, I'm this when I'm here, then I leave here and I'm this other person. It's like, no, that was you. There was no separation. You know what I mean? Like it's just a matter of your discrepancy and what you want to accept and what you're ready to reveal. And that's on you. That's cool. Whatever you want to do. But I think the sky is truly the limit. And when from that first burn, I knew like this is going to, like I said, change the world like I wanted to be. But the thing is, I haven't done art at the burn yet. And that's what I really want to do next. Like I've had a couple ideas too that I've been floating around, like to try to do something really cool. And I think maybe next year might be the year that I do it. Cause I've been just trying to do something. Definitely will be something about photography for sure. And, I definitely, it's a good feeling, man. It's just, I can't really put much words in. It's just bliss. It's just like, just so much love and gratitude, man, because it really takes a village. It takes all of us. Like, it's never, I always tell people, like, we did it. Like, whenever something, like last night, I was like, we sold a piece. And they're like, no, you sold. I'm like, no, we did. You don't know, like, how much your support, how much you have in my back, you being somebody I could talk to, like, helps me get up and, like, continue to work hard at these things. Like, it takes a community. Like, I know I'm in tunnel vision, but that part where I'm socializing, connecting, that's like my fuel. Like, if I don't have that, there is no tunnel vision. Like, I will burn the hell out, you know? So, like, stuff like this and last night, that's all a part of it. Going to the burn is a big part of it. Like, just the community aspect of it, and just like, it's priceless to me. Honestly, priceless.
I want to come in for a landing on your favorite memory from your last burn.
Oh, the last one.
I tend to also vote for ones that tend to be a lot more smaller and intimate, like memory wise. Like, I know the dance floor is dope, but but like, what was like a very special moment that you experienced that you can
I got
you're
one.
taking with you?
I got one. I was in Deep Playa by myself. I remember it was kind of chilly that night, and I heard some music.
Wait, you had kind of a chilly night, 2022? I'm jealous of you already.
Yeah, it was a little chilly. I remember I had like I wasn't like, I had like a little jacket on. I had like I don't think I had the fur on. I don't think I did fur, but I think I was something like that. And I was going, and I remember there was a random art car out there. It was playing music. But what happened is I had this feeling about my mom. And one of the deepest realizations I've had at the burn, honestly, is the fact that me and my mom are the same person. Like, accepting, I think the pain and anger the pain and BS that me and her had to deal with the stepdad situation, I think it fractured our relationship in a lot of ways, because in a lot of ways I blamed her for allowing me to be in that. Like, subconsciously, this is like a deeper level of it.
Sure.
And for years we were at odds, and I was also not accepting, the things about me and her that are very similar, because I just wanted to create my own identity, my own independence. And it wasn't until, like, again, around that, like, 26-year-old, like, I kind of like came back around, and like, we've gotten such an amazing place now, me and my mom. And that, I remember just crying, bawling, crying, because I was just like, I kept telling myself, I am my mom. I am my mom. I love you, mommy. I am my mom. It was like a little kid in me was like coming out and just like embracing just how amazing she is and what she instilled in me, and how much love she has for me, and how I wouldn't be where I am today if it wasn't for the sacrifices that she put in. Like, whatever I'm creating, whatever I'm living, wherever I'm at, that ain't possible without her and her sacrifice. When I was, to be very frank with you right now, I'll be frank with you. To be very frank with you, my mom had a decision. She almost had an abortion when she had me, and she decided not to last minute, and she went along with it. And she told me that, and she said, like, I just couldn't do it. And she said it was one of the best decisions she's ever made, because she felt like I was such a blessing to her life. And so each moment that I ever get is like, wow, I would have never been here if it wasn't for her dedication, her honesty, her like love and compassion and faith, honestly, because she didn't know if she could make it work, but she made it work, and like, you just never know what's possible. And so, just like really loving my mom. And the beautiful thing that happened was, after that, I found me a payphone. At the playa, it was like at some camp, had a payphone. I called my mom and I told her how much I loved her.
Wow.
Yeah, and I said the whole thing. I was like, I am you. I'm crying, by the way. I'm like, I am you.
I'm not crying, you're crying.
I am you. She's like, thank you, baby. Thank you, baby. I'm just like, no, you don't get it, man. You don't get it. And I think, that moment was very special to me. That moment I'll never forget. And given all the pain that we've done through, to have that healing moment, that's like bringing the worlds together in a good way. You know?
That's so dope.
Yeah.
Man, thank you.
No
Thank you
worries.
for this. This has been a fantastic interview. I'm super happy that we connected.
Yeah, for sure, man. This is great, man. This is awesome. You are next level, bro. Like this is like you are a professional. This was so good, man. Like you're an amazing interviewer, amazing show, intellect, vision, all of it, and your artistry is fly too. Like your photography is dope, bro. I told you
Thank
that
you.
it's dope.
Yeah,
It's nothing to play with, man. Like, yeah, man. I appreciate it all, and I thank everyone for listening and supporting in any way you can. And we are in this together, man. 100%. 100%.
No, appreciate you, man. And we'll have links to your books and all your projects in the show notes. And yeah, man, I there's a lot of alignment. Like there was some synchronicity for us to connect here.
Yeah.
Like,
definitely.
as you're saying, like appreciating every moment because you almost weren't here. Like, I mean,
Yeah, it's real.
It's every moment that was that last moment made this next moment happen, so that the possibility of and just it is pure magic that we are here right now.
Exactly.
In this hotel room in
it
San
doesn't
Francisco.
even make sense
in
when you try to really think about it. It doesn't even make sense. You just got to embrace it and be thankful.
Absolutely.
There's no way you're going to figure it out.
Absolutely. Well, thank you. This has been absolutely spectacular. I'm super happy we did this.
All love, man. All love to you, bro.
Brother.
All love.
There you have it, Kamal X. Really enjoyed this interview, and this was definitely one of those episodes where I reflect back on and go like, how dope is that I get to be friends with this person now because of this podcast. Thank you so much for joining us. If you are a fan of this show, if you enjoyed this episode, I ask that you send this episode to 3 friends. Just pull up your phone or whatever it is, whatever device it is you're on, and hit share with whatever link it is you're listening to, whatever platform you're on. Just send it to 3 friends. Post it on social media. Tag people. For this, we don't promote this show. We don't advertise this show. Obviously, that may change in the near future. I don't know. We'll see, because we do want to get more people listening. But for me, it's particularly imperative that our listeners are like the legit participants, the people legitimately in our community active. Like, that's who this is for. This is for you, those of you who are active the whole year, and not just the folks who show up once or twice and take some great Instagram photos and take off. I don't want to talk trash about Instagram, because Kamal has an amazing feed, by the way. Even though I hate most of Instagram, I do enjoy Kamal's feed, so you should definitely check him out. All of these links will be over at burnerpodcast.com. Burner Podcast is produced by a revolving team of producers and volunteers from all across the country. In fact, we're even multinational, because we have a producer in Canada. So the Burner Podcast theme music is America's Horse with No Name remix. It is produced by Joe Man. So until next time, love, light, and all that other crap. After we stopped recording, we were kind of like we were sharing images and kind of looking at each other's work. And I have some protest photos. And it was really interesting because my first thought when I was looking at some of his images was that I was seeing shapes first. But as you'll hear in the conversation, it's the personal emotions that Kamal connects to, which is actually the same thing that I typically connect to. But then when he looked at my protest photos, he kind of saw shapes more. And it was really interesting because then when I reviewed my own work, I was like, yeah, you're right. I guess I did go after the shapes a little bit more because I there's different images, of course. Like if you dig through my photos, you'll see some of them focus more on the individual. But the stuff that popped and blew up tended to be a little bit more shape oriented. And that probably has to some extent due to my perspective as like a photojournalist observing this thing. Whereas Kamal's deep embedding and very, much more personal connection to this experience as a Black man in the United States, which we do deep dive into, makes it so that he zeroes in and connects to certain parts of the experience as a photographer in a level that I simply couldn't. And that made all of that infinitely more fascinating and made for a really amazing conversation.